So no, I think that that's a beautiful example. And if you know the rest of the story, you see the power of that, because the fate, or Bilbo's pity, played an amazing role within the entire story. Because Bilbo let Gollum live, Gollum actually comes back and saves the day, because at the end of the story, Frodo is the one who's driven mad by the ring, and his will is broken. Okay? And so Gollum comes up and attacks Frodo and takes the ring from him one final time. And so it's interesting that Frodo at that time right there is so interested in killing Gollum, getting rid of him, and yet in a way he ends up being the savior for the entire people of Middle-earth. So again, just a really nerdy example, but a beautiful example of the role of pity and the fact that it plays such an amazing role. Now the other part, your biblical example, comes from the parable of the unforgiving servant. And I'm going to give you Pastor Josh's paraphrase on this. So later in the Gospel of Matthew, this king comes up and says, you know what, I want to settle all of my debts, get all of my work in order. And so he calls together this servant, and this guy owes this king or this master just tons of money, just millions and millions of dollars that he's accrued in debt. And that's probably why he's a servant. And this guy comes before the king and says, you know what, I can't pay it. Please let me go. Please forgive my debt. And so the king says, all right, I have pity on you. Go. Your debts are forgiven. And so what happens then is immediately this servant goes out and goes to someone who owes him a debt. And this guy, owes him $100. And he says, you know what, pay your debt to me right now. And the guy says, well, I can't pay. And so he grabs him and hauls him off to jail for this measly $100 that he owes him. And now his fellow servants look around and go, wait a sec. This guy just got forgiven a debt of millions of dollars and he's holding a grudge for $100? And so we find too, again, this idea of forgiveness, of having pity on other people, because again, God has paid the big debt. He's paid our $1 million or our unpayable debt for sin. And likewise, we get to go out then and step into forgiveness and love to other people because we have first been forgiven as well. So I'll leave you with that. Again, some action steps. These are the same action steps from last week, and these come from Sue Nielsen Kibbe's book called Floodgates. They're called a Breakthrough Prayer Initiative. And so this week, just continue to ask God to break through in new and miraculous ways in your personal life, in the individual lives of us as a congregation. Pray for our churches collectively for breakthroughs. And then pray for us to imagine new purposes on behalf of Jesus Christ. So think of those things where God might be calling our churches, where God might be calling you personally to go into specific ministry areas, and then just break through anything that might hold us back, including resistant thinking and negative attitudes. And again, sometimes it's so easy for us to be negative about things. Well, that doesn't work. We tried that. That's not going to do it. There's no way we can do that. Let's begin to change our mind and say, what if we could do this? What happens when we do this? What happens if I go and do this amazing thing? And I think we'll see some amazing results. And then always, if you have post-it notes plastered around this building, I invite you to continue to pray for those special areas that you lifted up last week. And again, if you want post-it notes, come and see me, and you can stick some around our